Welcome everybody to another episode of In Good Company. I'm Andrew with Fact HVAC. We actually have Dan with us today, so thanks for coming. And our guest today is Joel Coen, partner at TruNorth Advisors. So thanks for hanging out with us today,
Thanks for having me, man. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have you here. A little bit of a backstory for everybody. Joel and I have known each other about 6-7 years now. Yeah. From humble beginnings to kind of doing some really cool things in the world, man. So catch us up, man. How you doing?
Doing great, man. I mean, the last week has been a really positive week, to say the least.
That's awesome.
I think, all you guys know, but my kid, we found out yesterday, he got his acceptance into West Point, which was huge. Awesome. We have a new marketing partner that we're going to be working with in April that is just really big. And my wife yesterday had a review where she's going to be VP here soon at a big company. So it's a streak right now. Now I'm hanging out with you guys.
Hey, we'll see if we can keep that streak going.
So just to kind of fill everybody in a little bit, Joel, your background in digital marketing, I mean, you've done so much in the world, from playing in bands in Nashville, working in Nashville, doing digital marketing for yourself, big scale stuff. Kind of fill everybody in on those gaps, your experience in that space.
Yeah, from the marketing perspective, I mean, it goes back to my days at Office Max and being able to see kind of what happened. And I grew up in the infancy of e-com in a lot of different ways. After the recession in 2008, I took a step back and said, what can I do to help people? And what I found is, like, a lot of people were getting taken advantage of by marketing agencies, and I bet there's a lot of people nodding their heads right now. Right. And it's a fascinating thing where people pay a lot of money for something because they don't know how to do it. It's just like with me and lawyers, like just make sure it's done. That's all I care about. Or accounting, right? Just do it. Or think of another thing, like a pilot. I don't need to know how you fly the airplane. Just get me there.
Please do a good job.
Yeah, for God's sakes, please. And so I started to get into this mode and this understanding of, like, how do we just help people to actually spend their money appropriately. Started a business in Gilbert. We got Business of the Year. Joined another company in Chandler. We grew that business up, and I learned really quickly that I want to work with people that I want to work with. I want to act as an advisor, because in many cases you have to be ingrained in, like, the upper section of a company and really act as part of the company to help them. And so now TruNorth Advisors, our main goal is to act as like a virtual CMO. And that has resonated big time with tech mostly, which is fascinating.
That's awesome.
I was going to ask, like, who are the clients? Not, if you can't name them, you can't name them. That's fine. But, like, what's the style of client that you work with right now under TruNorth?
Yeah, so we've been working a lot with Fortinet's partners right now, and that's been a big thing for us. And what we're finding, I mean, they're all over. Actually, I mean, it's a worldwide company. Right. They have thousands of partners, and so we go out and we meet with these partners and just evaluate how they're performing and kind of guide them in the right direction to it at the behest of Fortinet. And it has been incredible. I mean, just in every case, we're helping these people really do something different, and it ranges from giant companies to where there's 8-person companies. Right. A lot of them, it's the same story, just getting taken advantage of. I'll tell you a good one later.
So, obviously, when we think about digital marketing in the e-commerce space, it's such a huge world, right?
Yeah.
What's the thing that you really like to hone in on with companies when you are in that advisory role with them?
Cost per acquisition. That for me is like the biggest thing right now, because here's what happens. People spend a ton of money on impressions and clicks and click-through rate and all sorts of stuff, right? And advertising companies come out and they're like, hey, look at all that we've done for you. Look at what we've been able to get done for you. I'll use that example I was going to do earlier. So a company in Detroit, very well-known IT company, they had spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on a digital marketing campaign, and they're like, it's not producing anything. But the company's like, well, you're getting millions of impressions.
Sure, but again, an impression is just somebody saw you. It doesn't mean they were good somebody who could buy your service. It doesn't mean that it was a quality impression.
Right.
That again, there was no transaction there. There was no outcome.
And so on their part, there's this fear that if we stop doing what we're doing, what if we miss out, right?
Right.
And what happened with these guys? They serve the Midwest. That's all that they serve. and all of their ads were being presented in England. And when we showed them that,
Exactly, quality impression.
right?
You literally got every single person in England to see your ad.
Yeah.
Great, we don't work in England. We're there.
Yeah. So I mean, so we diagnose, evaluate, and then we approach it a very different way.
Funny.
That's awesome. I mean, as in the advisory role now, that you've kind of done everything from cradle to grave and all that stuff. But in the advisory role, do you find it fun to do that part, right? The diagnosing and the kind of getting into it.
Just yesterday, had a client that they're like, dude, we're not getting phone calls. We're not getting the phone calls, and that's where I get to come in and really delve into it. So I'm seeing you're getting the phone calls. You're saying you're not getting the phone calls. What's the situation?
Right.
They have been getting more phone calls over the last month than they had ever got. A manager for them had decided that they were going to extend the amount of time it took to get to a live person on their phone system from 30 seconds to 6 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
So
I'm not waiting for 6 minutes for anyone.
for anything.
I'm not waiting.
Right. We're not in a day and age where that can happen. And so their close rates on phone calls went from the 30 percentile to 3.
Wow.
And that's what created. But they didn't know any of that. So
and human wasn't even picking it up.
Right.
Half the time, those are just getting hung up.
Oh, absolutely. And so that's a case where, as an advisor, like most marketing companies, they're not going to get into that. They're just be like, we need to figure out how to get more phone calls. When we see the data and we're like, dude, you got to look at what's the customer experience.
You're getting plenty of phone calls. You're just not converting.
Right.
Why are you not converting?
And then the owner's like, why didn't anybody else know this? And that's the fun part for me.
Right. And I would imagine too, because we look in a world today where so many people can become quote unquote digital marketers, whether it's understanding how algorithms work with social media, things of that nature. But I mean, with your years of experience, it's got to be that it goes beyond that, right? It's you're able to get in there and you're not in charge of diagnosing their call tree, right? But you're now able to take all of that data and come up with a real-time solution for customers.
Well, and that's, I guess, Andrew, you said something I think that's important. We are kind of part of that call tree, right? Because if I'm getting you phone calls and you're not getting conversions out of it, it's still my problem because you're not going to continue to use me unless you're seeing growth in sales, right? So that's where, as part of our initial consultation, we're like, just so you guys know, we're going to be in it. Like the entire customer experience from beginning to end, we're going to work through that with you because if it's not great, and we have to have the ability to tell you what that is, we won't be successful. And we've turned many people down because we've looked at the customer experience and said, I can't, we can market you, but you're not going to be successful.
It's not going to make a difference until you fix all of these pieces.
Exactly. The other fascinating thing about something you just said too, that's important, I think, for people, you said it, just about anybody can get into digital marketing. Well, that's true. And then there's this weird connotation where if your cousin does computers, does computers, they understand how marketing functions, right? And that's not the way it works. And one of the basic tenets of what we do internally is that in order to work with us, you have to have all your certifications. Like you have to have your analytics certification, your ad certification if you're working in the ad space, but everybody at Basic has their analytics certification. We have to know our stuff. Right. I can't tell you how few organizations actually demand that people know what they're talking about.
And I think that's such a huge thing that really separates you and your space is that adherence to a strict quality and a strict adherence to the data, right?
Absolutely.
Because in your world, it's not just the bells and whistles. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up with digital marketing where, oh, my post looks really cool or this logo looks really cool, not truly understanding how much data goes into it and how much interpreting the data will then motivate you to make good actions. When you're working with clients and bringing in new clients, how important is it for you to sit down and really kind of drill into them the importance of interpreting their data and doing what you guys talk about? The
most important thing, right? Because a lot of times what we find, literally like 80 to 90% of them, they don't have analytics set up appropriately. They don't have conversion tracking in place. Like they don't have a goal set up so that they understand what their sales funnel looks like. based off of what happened from beginning to end. There's this thought that I turn on ads and the magic happens. That's not it.
If I build it, they will come.
Right. I mean, let's just spend.
Fallacy, right?
Let's just it's any one channel. Let's just put money into something. Let's put money into something. But all that works together over time, and it's being able to diagnose and understand all those steps that helps to make something successful. And it's very rare that we come in and we're like, oh, you have all your tracking in place.
Right.
I mean, there are times where, like just recently, again, a big company out of Texas, no analytics. They've not seen analytics on their website, and the guy's like, I have no idea where we're at.
Wow.
That's the head of marketing.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
this is easy now.
I can clearly improve your situation from where you are right now.
Right.
By showing you some analytics.
Yeah.
Right. That's crazy. So, obviously, I mean, you work with so many different clients, and you've worked with a wide variety of clients. But what's something that you see kind of trending in the world of digital marketing, and kind of what's coming in the next few years that small businesses should be kind of looking at and educating themselves on?
Prep for GA4 getting launched in July. That's probably one of the biggest things that I'm just not seeing people doing, and it is a big transition that's going to place. When I say GA4, Google Analytics 4, the fourth generation of it. They've been saying it for 2 years, but a lot of people have no idea how it functions, what it is. There's some that are saying, well, it's better than the regular analytics. I can't see how. It's removing a lot of our capacity to see and understand things that we have today.
It seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong, but having recently gone through this with our web team and talked about it and making the moves ahead of the situation as opposed to trying to be behind it.
Right.
It seems to a degree it has streamlined where they want you to focus on your analytics and therefore where they want you to spend your money and where they want you to do X, Y, Z. And it's kind of dumbed it down a bit. It seems like it made it, Google Analytics for dummies, for lack of a better term. But it instead of just making it simple on the front end and giving you more options back here, it seems like they aren't giving us access all the way through anymore. Like it's not that's actually not going to come along at all.
And that's happening in a lot of their spaces. Where like one of the biggest things that's happened for ads right now in Google Ads is there's something called Performance Max campaigns,
right?
Where you basically, so stupid to me. It's called Performance Max. You put it out there, and does it perform well? Yeah, it performs well. Why does it perform well? You have no clue. You have no idea.
They don't tell you why it's.
There's
working.
all that
because
data.
It's the maximum.
It's a black box. What if I want the minimum?
It's performance and max. It's got to be great.
Right.
It's got to be great.
But the ability to see a lot of the details that we see today have kind of retracted. I think that what you'll see is it'll, like a lot of things, it'll get into it, and people are not going to just take Google's word for it that that's the way that it is. And it may be a downfall of theirs.
At some point, yeah. Do you think does it have anything to do with kind of the CTDA Act, like that stuff of like the, I forget what that exactly stands for, but what is it? It's something transparency in digital advertising. And it's basically the act that, it's a bipartisan bill in Congress that is looking that you cannot be in different portions of the digital ad process. So it'd be a breakup of a monopoly. Do you think they're trying to just separate out their pieces a little bit and bifurcate it so that they don't fall under that act, or what do you?
Well, I mean, Google's statement is that we're going to a cookieless environment, right, at some point.
That's fair.
And so that's where these solutions are supposed to address the fact that we can't track every component of what's happening.
Okay.
I don't believe that for a damn second. And,
we're just not going to call them cookies anymore. We're going to call them biscuits.
They're crumbles.
Right? We're just going to change the name. But we're
I don't know if I should or
them.
shouldn't say. I mean, we have Google reps, and other things for our clients and things. And at one point recently, one was like, well, you can apply for. You can apply for the non-deprecating cookies component of your badge. And I'm like,
non-deprecating.
And I was like, what does that mean, really?
What?
And she's like, well, basically, you'll still see everything. I was like, oh, okay.
I like that.
So if we see people spend enough money, we can still see all this stuff.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's really going to be the case or not, but it is fascinating to think about. Because look, that information's not going anywhere. I mean, it's going to be there.
The data exists, and so the ability to limit how it's used or what it's used by, it's challenging.
Yeah, it just becomes less available to marketers, really.
Right.
And I think that's, again, goes back to that whole thing, why it's so important to find and reach out to companies like you. Because, with your advisory firm and with you guys, you can actually help prep people and prep companies for those things. I think so many small business and entrepreneurs don't understand the complexity of that.
Yeah.
And they think only in these really small vertical spaces, like, right, oh, I need to create a website. Oh, I need to create a social media presence and all of that. But not understanding how to link those things to make it viable.
Yeah. That's the tough part, right? Is that, again, it's an environment in which all those things come together to do something for you. But you can't just say, I'm going to do social media, right? And you get out there, you make a few profiles, and you're like, what is going on? And that's just not the way the world works. Like anything, you got to work for it, you know?
So what has been one of your most favorite campaigns or brands to work on in your years of experience?
One of the ones I had the most fun was probably Harrah's. Like that, working with Harrah's was really cool, and the whole Caesars group and that kind of stuff. Like that was a blast because we took something where things were down, they were not doing great, and immediately they saw an uptick once they engaged us, and that was a big scale type of situation. I think locally, Goodwill is probably the biggest one that I've worked with, where immediately upon exercising the strategies that we discussed, same store sales year over year were up significantly. And it just had a lot to do with based off of Google business profiles. For free for them, just by updating their profile and doing basic stuff, hundreds of millions of views started coming in.
Wow.
We repositioned their brand to be, not just, it was, if you've probably seen the ads where it's with thousands of unique items. Yeah. You never know what you're going to get basically when you come in. And that made a big difference for that group. That was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Obviously, we've worked together a lot. And I will say, anybody that is watching this, questions, concerns, comments, please leave them on this video. Joel is a wealth of knowledge in this space. Thank you so much, man, for coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys doing it.
Next time we'll bring in a drum set and let you kind of go crazy on the drums. We didn't even get into your crazy drummer days.
Oh man, let's not bring those up.
I do want to ask, like a regular thing I do is 3 questions sort of thing. Top 3 things you'd recommend small business. I mean, most of our audience is in the small business world. Top 3 things they can do digitally or should have in their arsenal.
Yeah. Check your Google business profile. Make sure that's set up appropriately. Just your category is set up there appropriately is probably one of the most important things for you. I think secondarily to that is Google Search Console. There's this misnomer that Google's this big beast that nobody knows how it functions and what they do, and it's all secrets. No, it's not at all. You get Search Console, add your domain, it'll tell you exactly where you rank for what. It is a Google product, and it's the best thing you can do. And the third thing, and it's not anything else other than like an activity. If you're not getting phone calls and you're not getting increased sales out of your marketing partner, ask them what the hell's going on. Right. Because the rest of whatever they're telling you does not matter. Like, and today, don't just sit there and worry, what am I going to do if I fire them? Well, nothing, because you already don't have the results.
Right.
So, that's the thing that gets me the most is like you just sit and you're hoping that these guys will pull it together that you're working with. Don't, man. Go figure it out and find somebody that'll actually do what they say they're going to do.
That's awesome. Where can people find TruNorth Advisors?
TruNorth-Advisors.com. We have a new website coming up in the next month or so. So
nice.
Hopefully by the time everybody sees this, we'll have something up and running there, our new one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, again, man, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. I think this is episode 11, 10? What are we at?
This is officially number 10.
Nice.
All right.
So you get to be
nice.
double
I'm the
digit.
first double digit.
There you go.
That's great.
So awesome. Well, thank you for coming and hanging out. Make sure everybody like and subscribe to the video. Make sure you check out Joel at TruNorth-Advisors.com. And I think producer Steve actually has something we're going to do, right?
We are. We're going to play a little bit of a game here.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
So we'll show that later.
Oh, we'll show that later?
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll show
cool.
that later.
Well, don't mind his ASMR, but anyways. All right. Again, thank you so much for coming and hanging out, Joel.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.